Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Brittany, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about the 4 books that I read in the month of January. I feel as though 4 books in terms of the average on like booktubers channels is very small, but I feel like for the average consumption of a regular person, 4 is quite a bit. But yes, I'm going to talk to you guys about the book. I am also going to spoil a lot of things. However, I'm going to first tell you the book, tell you my rating, tell you the general gist of what the book is about, and then I'll tell you when spoiler starts. There also will be time marks all below, so if you want to jump, not hear the spoilers, you don't have to. But some of these, I gotta talk about them. I have to. Let's get started. So the first book that I read in the month of January is Lawe by Gray Huffington. First thing to note, I think in my previous videos, I assumed that Gray Huffington was a man. Very, very slow of me. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. I have already read 3 books from this author, and I read Ledge and Luca last year, and I'm reading Lawe this year. I'm not technically going in order. She has 2 series. One is the Eisenberg series, and then the one that includes Ledge and Lawe, because they're brothers. I'll explain that in a second. They are part of the Domino Effect series. So this whole multiple of these books, there are 5 books that I know of, and they are all situated around this one family and basically the offspring of this one family, and we're going through each one of their like love stories. And the last one is Clue. So no, the last one is the last one that I read was Lawe. The book is about him and this woman, her name is Clue, and their like love story and how they fell in love. However, the thing about this kind of like, I guess, romance book is that it is situated in the vantage point of the man. Like, the man is the main character, and we're hearing a lot of the storyline from his point of view. It does kind of switch POVs as well in these books, so we do hear the woman's side of things. But Clue, she is this very, very ambitious and has it all together woman. She's very much about like getting her money and then going home and chilling out. She is very much in this place of, if men are going to give me their money, I'm going to take it and live a lovely life. She at this point is working as a stripper. However, she is very well renowned in her career that she really only does like one stage dance a night, and then that's like her whole money, and then she just leaves. Lawe, I like kind of got, because I read the other books, he is one of the younger brothers in this family. He is very like defiant. He is very, very quick to anger. I want it my way or no way, highway situation. And so he's kind of coming at trying to court this woman. I guess court, is that the right way? Trying to basically claim this woman who's very ambitious and very independent in her own right, and she likes being independent, and he's trying to come at it with like guns blazing. And so that is the story, and there's a whole bunch of other nuances. I rated this book 3 stars. It was one of those like palate cleansers, but a very like salacious good time. Like reality TV show. It was like a reality TV show type of book. It was all over the place, and there was drama, and there was people figuring things out and lies being told. But it was very much entertaining, and it's like the whole series I would recommend. I read her books honestly like after I've read like a really hard or difficult book like that was just like heavy. Now, going on to the spoilers of the book, I'm going to give you the synopsis of the book in about a minute is the goal. So Clue, she is working at a strip club, and it is her birthday. It's her birthday night, and she's like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna have a great birthday, and then afterward I'm just gonna kind of like seclude myself in like a hotel room, have a staycation, all those things. Lawe comes in, and he comes in with like his crew, and he has the money to blow. Like the whole family is wealthy, like all of like the Ledge, Luca, Law, like all of them. There's another one. I forgot the other brother's name, but they all have money. Is it legal? That's not for you and I to know. We don't know that. But they all have money, and a lot of it. And so he's going in and he's like blowing back. So of course, Clue, she's on stage and she sees that this man has money. I'm gonna take the money from him. Of course she is, right? So she is pretty much like on stage in front of everybody, but pretty much just performing for him. And he is kind of like showering her with a whole bunch of money. She collects her money. At the end of the night, she goes home. She eventually checks into like this really nice hotel. And she's like, I'm just gonna stay in this hotel for the next 2 days and just be by myself. I'm not gonna be working. I'm just gonna have some time for myself. And she stumbles upon Law in the elevator. This kind of spirals into them like having a one night stand. After the one night stand, they kind of go their separate ways. She like leaves immediately and just like goes about her life. He goes about his life, and the next scene that we get to is Law in the hospital with another lady. I believe her name is Bianca, and Bianca just had his first son. Yeah, and it's just like, hold up, and this is how the book starts. And you're just like, what? Long story short. So throughout the middle of the book, it is pretty much Law trying to, and stumbling upon Clue like throughout the city, because she doesn't live in his city, but when he goes to her city, he's always stumbling and like seeing her. And yeah, just seeing her. And so he's just like, oh yeah, like I need this girl to be around me. I need to be more, like, I need to put some claim on her. And so she's very much like, I'm really not taking this seriously. Like, please, like, let's keep it cute. Let's keep it chill. Leave me alone. Long story short, he finally, after so many pages, gets her to actually take him seriously, and they start, like, dating. They're dating, but at this time and throughout this whole process, he has not informed her that he has a son. So one day there's this family event where she comes up and she's there to surprise, well, family event is his birthday. She's there to surprise him for his birthday. He shows up with his newborn baby in tow. He's also been very haphazard, very lackluster, or that's not the right word. He's been procrastinating, also telling his family about his newborn baby. And so eventually on his birthday, he brings the baby to meet the family, and he finds out that Clue is there and he didn't know. She's stunned as well, because she's just like, I didn't even know that you had a baby. And so she is, and like, not only do you have a baby, but when you come into town, you're staying with your baby mama. And so she's just like, yeah, like, nah, I'm not going for that. She leaves, they break up. Law is at this point where he is like scrambling, trying to like win her favor back. And over time, he figures out that like there's not enough money or things or possessions that you can give to her that's gonna make her forgive you. You just have to give her time. And if she, at a certain point, if you give her time and she wants to move on, and move on, right? Or if she wants to be with you, then she wants to be with you, but you just gotta be a man and take your responsibility of the things that you did. Long story short, he did all of this and the baby wasn't even his. It wasn't even his baby. Eventually they get back together and it's a whole thing, and lovely, amazing. The second book that I read this year is I Who Have Never Known Men. This book is situated around this unnamed girl. She's not named. And she was born and raised for most of her primitive years in this bunker with 39 other women. So there's 40 women in total, and she is the youngest of the women, and she has known nothing but this cage, right? There's this cage in this bunker that they are all living in, and the cage is monitored by men guards that do not speak with them, do not engage with them. They're just there to basically crack a whip. They don't actually hit them with the whip, but they crack the whip anytime they're breaking a rule. Like, one of the rules is that, like, you can't touch each other. There's a rule that, like, you don't really have any privacy in there, like, to use the restrooms or anything like that. And so we're following the journey of this one girl who has basically lived in isolation with these women. And eventually, one day, they are released from the bunker. And that is basically kind of where the story goes and what happens. So that is pretty much the primitive about the book. I also gave this book 3 stars. It was quite adequate. It wasn't anything that I was just like, oh my goodness, I am having such a great time reading. I think it was because it was a little like hard with just so much unknown. I would definitely recommend it to other people. It was just not the type of book that like I wanted to read. Either I don't know if it was at that time or if at all. But going to spoilers of this book. So as I mentioned before, this book is surrounded. Ugh. This book is centered around this unnamed girl. She is the youngest out of all of these women, and there's this point in the time in the book where they're in the bunker and the guards are opening up the cage to deliver them their food for the day. And when they open up the cage, there's this loud alarm that goes off and all the guards just run away. Nobody knows where they went to. Nobody knows honestly where they came from, but they run away, leaving the cage open. The youngest of the girls, she leaps out and all the women are able to, she finds the keys and all the women are able to actually leave the cage. One of the things that you find out in the book is that the women in this cage have seen this girl grow up. They're not necessarily like kin to her, but she has so many questions about life, about the unknown, about life before the cage, because all the other women have experienced life outside. They all were like service workers, such as they worked in like factories or as waitress and all these things. So she has questions. She has so many questions, and they're not giving her any answers. They're just kind of like leaving her in this limbo of just not knowing, which has to be so frustrating. So freaking frustrating that these women around her have answers to just some of like the most basic life questions, and they give her this answer of what use, like basically of what use is it for me to tell you? You're never going to experience these things. And it's hard and it's like stinted and it's annoying to her. So she has no answers. She eventually gets out of the bunker and they're trying to figure out where they are. They're trying to figure out how long is a day. Is 24 hours from sunset to sunset? Or does that depend on the year or the time of year or where they are? And so they're on this very flat plain for the most part, and they stumble upon other bunkers, and all of the bunkers, there are corpses, like dead people, because none of their cages were open at the time that the horn blew, so they were all just kind of like left there to die. And so they go and they see cages of like women, and they go and they see cages of men. And so they're going along this track, they're going along life, and slowly over time the women are dying, right? They're just dying because there's no real answers, honestly. And the thing about this book is you start off the book with these questions, right? Like these questions are like, oh, I wonder like who the guards are, or, oh, I wonder where they are, or, oh, I wonder like why they're here. And then for me personally, slowly over time as you're reading the book, these questions seem stupid. They seem senseless, and in their place are different questions, are additive questions that are inherently like more simplistic but would tell you so much more, right? In terms of like, for example, okay, like where are you going to live? What do you want to eat? How are you going to handle the dead, right? And so like these are more immediate questions that can be answered, that you kind of hold on to, because there's no answers. There's no answers. Yeah, I think it asked so many questions. It gave so few answers. The third book I read in January is Big Swiss. I also gave this book 3 stars. I think that there was something about this book that was so artfully done, but it just wasn't my type of art. Does that make sense? Not in a bad way. I think it was adequate. Like it was fine. Like it was a fine read. The book is about Greta. She has taken up a job as a transcriber of these sex therapist sessions for the sex therapist, and she is transcribing the interactions for this book that this therapist is going to make. And she stumbles upon this audio by this lady who she has named Big Swiss, and she is like enamored, and honestly like in a very obsessive way, with this lady's voice. And then somehow that gears into her being obsessed with her story. And then eventually down the road, they start having a relationship. They meet and they have a relationship, and you're going through the story of Greta, who's a transcriber, having this very intimate information about Big Swiss that Big Swiss is not privy to. So that is a synopsis. It's a 3-star. I would like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. It's fine. I think one, because it was a very hyped book. There's like these very big expectations that I have of it that may not be fair. But getting into spoilers, Greta is transcribing these lessons for multiple patients. But Big Swiss in particular, we find out that Big Swiss a couple of years back was like aggressively beaten by this man, and then the man went to jail. Big Swiss is very like this, she says it how it is type of person. Greta is this very kind of somehow meek and very somehow like meek and docile, but still obsessive in a very obsessive way. They one day meet at a dog park, and she meets this lady. She meets Big Swiss, and she starts basically this relationship on a lie. They're living in this very small town, this quaint town, but they start to basically have sexual relationship with one another. It's very like obsessive, because like Big Swiss feels as though she is like completely and enamoredly close to Greta, but it's kind of to a certain extent on false pretenses, because Greta knows these very very intimate things about her, and so she sometimes slips up and she says them out loud. And that's pretty much the book. That's all I feel as though I really wanted to say. The thing that I guess I didn't necessarily like love about this book is that it felt like the book was plotless. Like, I guess the only plot felt as though we were just waiting for this relationship to blow up in Greta's face, and that's not really a plot to me. Like, there's no plot. There was no direction. All right, so moving on to the fourth and the final book. It is Malagash. In hindsight, see that the actual title of the name of the book is Malagash, and I just wanted to come in to let you know that like I'm not illiterate. I do know how to read. But yeah, back to the video. I think the short synopsis that I was gonna say is, if you took grief and you formed it into the form of a computer virus, that is basically what this book is about. I gave it a 4 stars. I feel as though if that even sounds remotely interesting to you, I would go read it. It is not a long book. It's pretty short, and there is something so impactful in like the nuances of how this book was written. And honestly, I really cried, like tears. And I would just say go read it. Like, that's all I would say. Just go read it. But for spoilers, Bangladesh is centered around the point of view of this girl named Sunday. She has a brother and a mother and a father, and her father happens to be dying of cancer. Like, he is, from the start of the book, we know that he is for sure going to be passing away pretty soon, and he is in like palliative care. Hopefully that's correct. They go and they see him every day. They hang out, and Sunday takes it upon herself to record everything that her father says, like all of his quipped jokes or his funny remarks, or all the things he says, all of like the nuances of his voice. He starts to transcribe it into a computer virus. And as her father is dying and she's seeing him, she is getting very much enamored in like trying to capture him in his most purest form as he is. And then she realizes that from her brother, like her younger brother kind of gives her the idea that just capturing his voice isn't the whole picture. And so she starts capturing like the whole family's voice, like her mother, her brother, herself's voice, all of that into this computer virus that she is going to send out. And the computer virus is not supposed to like steal people's information or be like insidious in nature, but it's supposed to just like lurk in the background of these people's computers, to be sent across the world, or just to be silently lurking in the background of your computer as you open up this unknown email that you've seen. And so she is like building this and formulating this while she is preparing to go through her grief. And I feel as though what a, like, I don't know, like, what a very specific way of like talking about grief and using like a virus as a symbolism of this. And so, because at the same time, it's like the idea of like grief isn't always something that is so forward facing where you are just gut wrenching, like on the floor crying and needing to be consoled, but sometimes it is like this very background nuanced thing that is in the background, just like lurking, right? Just lurking through every moment and every experience in your life. It is this like background sound that happens so consistently, and like having to deal with that and like grapple with that has to be very hard. And so that she kind of like turning her father to a certain extent into a virus is just, it's a way of like taking grief and like giving it a tangible quality. And I thought that was like so stinking real, and like I felt it. And so yeah, I gave it a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I would definitely, out of all the books in the month of January, that is a book that I would definitely recommend. But that is all. Those are the 4 books that I read in January. And guess what? I'll see you later.